Show yourself that kind of magic love. That's when the magic happens.
Before, the co-pilot is always like that self-judgment, but right now it's always that cheerleader.
If you cannot love yourself properly, you cannot love someone else properly.
And I think it's also very important when people talk about forgiveness, they don't talk about self-forgiveness.
That right there ties a lot, because that is a good one there.
That's the juice, right?
That's some juice. There is nothing more powerful than just loving yourself without any expectations from the world.
Like, she didn't physically touch me. It was just like through her energy, right? Like it was like 3 or 4 inch above my chest, and I heard a little pop. I was like, whoa, what the hell was that? I never felt that, never heard that before, and I just felt a little bit lighter.
You're listening to Conscious Conversations, a personal and spiritual growth podcast to help you become your fullest expression. Enjoy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mark Hochak, your host and the founder of Divicati. Welcome to the 13th episode of Conscious Conversation, a podcast for growth-oriented and mission-driven divine beings. This is a space where we host high vibrational conscious conversation with the intent to help you become the fullest expression of yourself. Each episode will dive deep into rabbit holes and always end with at least one big action step that you can apply to help optimize your life, mind, body, or soul, and leave the podcast feeling inspired, awakened, and empowered. Our broader mission at Divicati is to co-create a 5D world by harnessing the power of collective ascension and collaboration. I'm so glad that you can join us in this conversation today. In this episode today, I had the chance to interview my good friend and my spiritual barber, Maurice, aka Mauricio. He's not just a barber, but he's also someone that's very curious, very open-minded, someone that is trying to understand the truth, someone that questions a lot. He's someone that understands energy and spirits, etc. And each time when I have, a haircut with him, instead of, getting that fresh cut, that fresh look, I also take away a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of enlightenment. So, I thought about, inviting him on the show. I'm just talking about the most fundamental thing about spirituality, which is self-love. And this episode beautifully echoes our last episode with Hans Wum, where he talks about unconditional, all-inclusive love. And this kind of ties into that very much so. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And the reason why I'm doing this intro is because parts of the audio, the first bit of it got cut off, but the juice, the meat is still in there. So I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, that's it from me from now. So let's transition into the podcast.
Always been aware of who you are, and I've been on that path for some time, and it's always inspiring to keep yearning that growth and that true self-love that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, because before in our prior conversations, you used to tell me, you're the kind of guy that were like in the Matrix, kind of like trying to chase the money, the success, and you were that guy. You were the guy in the beautiful car with the girl. That's the life that you had, right? But now you have transitioned. Oh, by the way, Maurice is a vegan. He lives very mindfully. So tell me a little bit about like what got you to have that 180 change.
Before, this world has people thinking about, the outside world to give off that appearance of what is self, not really fake awareness, I should say. It's not self-love. It's basically to have things and do things for others instead of yourself. I've really became more, into me finding self-love by actually being accountable for what I put inside of my body or whatever information I listen to, because in a sense of before you're not aware how you're putting all this knowledge and energy inside of your subconscious that you're not aware of your conscious. When I started eating healthy, The question is, how did I became vegan?
No, like more like how did you become awakened? You know, from the guy that you used to be, right?
Well, I got an enlightenment state of mind, I guess, when I figured out that I knew nothing. That's actually when I realized that everything that I was taught and thought that I knew was not for me. It was for everybody else, and for me to be approved by my peers, my family, people around me. That's why you think about getting the nice cars, being with the light of the party, getting the designer clothes, doing all this and all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that's all that you're thinking is self-love, that is not what it is. Self-love is being true to who you are and understanding that, what I believe to be true. First, you have to go inside of yourself. You have to realize that, wait a second. I am not who people think I am. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody that I'm not in order to make everybody else give me the perception of who I really am.
Right.
Which is not. It's also a false identity that most people are not aware that, the false identity that they protrude out on the outside is actually killing them on the inside because they're not allowing themselves.
You're not authentic, right?
You're not authentic. You're not allowing yourself to love yourself or even get to know yourself.
Right.
Once you start to understand who you are, then all of that stuff start crumbling down. All of that fake, illusional world will start, it'll start making sense.
Right. If you have to think back, like, was there like one particular moment that stood out to you where you're like, oh, shit, like I've been living the wrong way? Like, was there a big like incident that happened that made you deeply reflect, or was it more like a gradual process?
It was a gradual process, but the process, it truly began when I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And when I mean high blood pressure, I mean like
High blood
pressure. I mean hypertension.
Yeah.
Blood pressure. And I give you a quick story.
Please.
When I went to the doctor, and I don't do doctors. So I went to the doctor. I actually went to the doctor for my back. And because I had back surgery when I was 14, I went to the doctor for my back. You know what I'm saying? And when they checked my blood pressure, they had to do it 4 to 5 times because they thought the machine was broken. They did it by hand, manually, automatically. They even called in another doctor. They was like, hey, can you do it? Because we must be doing it wrong.
Right.
Because it cannot be this high for me, So when the doctor asked me, he's like, hey, how did you get here? I said, I drove. And he looked at me with this stare, like unbelievable, like, I'm surprised you made it here because you're at stroke level blood pressure. Like any minute now, you can just have a stroke. So that's when I actually started, like, okay, something is not right. So it didn't happen exactly at that point in time, but like from that point in time, it made me start looking at myself. I started being more accountable for myself instead of looking at the world around me, looking at what my friends, my peers are doing. They're eating this way. It must be okay. They're drinking this way. It must be okay. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're not getting enough rest. They're not exercising. It must be a part of getting older. So I accepted that as I guess this is what it is. What's life. Until I got diagnosed with this and I started doing my own research is when I started holding myself accountable for the foods I put inside my body. Now, this is where the true self-love comes in. This is when I start being like, okay, now I got to start being accountable for my own self-love instead of waiting for the world to
give you
okay
that, right,
for me to love myself. And a lot of people get that interpretation of what love is, what self-love is. A lot of people can look at love and say, you know what? Oh no, I love myself, and I truly thought I loved myself because I got the impression that I was taught that way. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I love myself. Yeah, I don't hate myself. I must love myself. But it's basically the same way when you're in a relationship or being a true friend, I should say. When people say your actions speak louder than your words, you can put your words and tell yourself in the mirror, I love this guy. You know what I'm saying? I'll do anything for this guy. But actually, you're not. You're actually lying to yourself. Because the same way in a friendship, the action speaks louder than words. You got to put those actions into action for yourself. First, that's proper self-love. That's when you become self-aware. Most people are not realizing that you have to show yourself that same kind of love, that same kind of action than just words. So you got to hold yourself accountable for what happens with you. Show yourself that kind of magic love. That's when the magic happens.
Right.
That's when you start investing in time with yourself.
No, that's so true, man. Because like a lot of people search for that love outside of themselves, right? Like my other half, or like this person complete me, or this thing completes me. A lot of people are filling that hole, right? Because it could come from trauma or neglect or lack of love from our parents or childhood. That's really a big source.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to deal with their emotions. That's why they kind of chase external dopamine. Or this is a thing that I realized recently as well. Like a lot of people put their attention externally. So on the phones, on the TVs, on other people. They don't channel, or not enough people that I know channel that awareness internally. Right. Let's say if we have a moment just to sit down on the bus or waiting for our food or etc. Right. Like we channel that energy outwards into our devices, but not, how come we're not feeling our emotions? How come we're not tuning inside? Right. So I feel like that simple act, you can say that's self-love. That's like checking in with ourselves, right? So
you have to check in. It's just like a car, you know what I'm saying? Like you see the oil light come on. Okay, wait a second, I got to work on that. You know, you see the temperature going up. Okay, I don't want the temperature to go up. You know, so I keep it where it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? So
keep it optimal.
You know what I'm saying? You always have to do that self check, because it is true. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, a lot of people pretend love. You know what I'm saying? It's so easier to pretend love and give people what they think. What, you know what I'm saying? Look, okay, I'm dressing nice. You know what I'm saying? I must love myself. I keep myself groomed. I must love myself. This is that. That's only on the outside. But what kind of love are you giving yourself? That kind of love is, yes, it's for yourself, but a lot of times people put that as priority for the rest of the world to see. Instead of, you know what, let me see what am I doing inside. My insides, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, they can look good on the outside and be in self-pity. And their self-esteem is jacked up. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know what I'm saying, they don't know how to put in that work inside. You know what I'm saying? Get rid of that, you know what I'm saying, all that past pain. You know what I'm saying? They have to heal themselves from the inside on out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people can't let go of that pain. They hold on to that pain. And when they hold on to that pain, they're stuck into the subconscious. Subconscious of fear is the total opposite of self-love. And people don't even realize they are in that fear because of that low self-esteem. They get depressed, they're lonely feeling. All of this stuff is basically they're stuck inside their subconscious. Fear keeps you in your subconscious. Your subconscious is everything that's been programmed in you from TV. You know what I'm saying? People don't want to go outside because they're scared of what's going on in the world. People are scared of getting sick. People are scared of this. They won't try this. This is all stuck in their subconscious.
The Rona, yeah.
You know, they scared of everything. They scared of getting robbed. They scared of this. They scared of that. They scared, you know what I'm saying, for anything. Somebody's going to attack them or this, that. So they're stuck in this subconscious. Subconscious is only emotions from the past and things that's been downloaded inside of you from media, from TV, from radio, from all this stuff. Once you get into self-love, that's when you get into self-conscious, true conscious living. That's when you start understanding, you know what I'm saying, what's real love. You know what I'm saying? When you're in a state of self-love, you cannot go backwards. You cannot start, you know what I'm saying, being pity mode, being depressed mode, because all of this is
right.
not. It's not happening.
Right. I just want to share a little bit about like why self-love is so important. Maybe starting with my story, and then we'll dive into yours, and then in a bit we want to talk about like the kind of like the benefits, which is the why, right? I think, you know, from my experience, I remember I was always searching for love outside of myself because I didn't feel like I got that like enough growing up. You know, it's not saying that my parents didn't love me,
Of
but
course not.
they don't show,
Yeah.
you know, Asian kind of culture, right? They're very reserved with like, they don't say, hey, I love you, son, like, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like I was kind of like searching for that, like subconsciously, not even with no one, like outside in like within a woman or whatever the case might be. And
Yeah.
especially my dad, he didn't grew up, he wasn't like available all the time around us, right?
Right.
And so I didn't know, and I was like trying to, at one point in my stage of my life, I was very obsessed with having my family kind of back together in a really perfect picture in order for me to feel happy within. And I realized, why is my happiness, or like, why do I outsource my happiness externally? How come it's not grounded within? And that's when the moment I was like, nah, son, like the love that I'm searching for is within me. Like I gotta like be, when I see a woman, before it's like, like I want her because I want her to complete me. But right now it's more of the opposite. It's like already incomplete, but now let me share that fountain of love to her as well. And it's not so much of a taking mentality. It's more like like energy exchange, which is more
Exactly.
beautiful, right?
Exactly.
And so like for me, from my story, which came from kind of like my family and my awareness and relationships, that's the benefit. I feel I'm more internally grounded. And I'm not saying I don't, I obviously I still kind of like, I'm not perfect, I don't love myself fully,
Right.
like I still can improve on that situation.
Yeah.
But at least the internal voice, you know, that voice of judgment. And you talk about this a lot, where you kind of explain the different passengers in our mind, and you
Right.
being the pilot, right?
Right.
Before, the co-pilot is always like that self-judgment, but right now it's always that cheerleader, that self-love voice, kind of like being the dominant kind of voice within my head. So that's the default mode. So yeah, that's kind of like my story. I'm interested to know like your perspective on like why it is so important, or the benefits that you experience in your life.
The importance of
Yeah, just loving yourself.
loving yourself is very important. I mean, loving yourself properly, the proper way is the only way, because, you know, if you cannot love yourself properly, you cannot love someone else properly. You know,
You gotta date yourself first. You gotta marry yourself first.
you have to know who you are. You know what I'm saying? In order, because a lot of times people get confused that they have to do what to make other people happy in order to making themselves happy, and it's killing them inside. You know what I'm saying? They don't realize that by doing things for others, the whole thing is going to mess y'all up, because, you know, the whole love thing has been put in reverse, kind of. We've been taught to, you know what I'm saying, love others first. You know what I'm saying? Put others ahead of our needs and stuff like that, where it takes us away from us. You know, it's like, you know, how can I love you? How can I properly love someone if I am harming or doing harm to myself? You know, if I'm in a depressed mood, how can I love you? If I feel my self-esteem is low, how can I love you? How can I, you know what I'm saying? If I'm not at 100% of loving me, I cannot love you at 100%. But yet the world wants you to give that 100% of love, that thing that the other people needs from you. Which once you're loving yourself, everything around you will see that love. You know, it's very important that, you know what I'm saying, that people really understand that loving themselves is number one,
Right.
in order to, you know, in order to move forward, even in happiness within yourself. Because there is no self-esteem, you know what I'm saying, self-awareness. All of this is self. Is the word before all of this is self. This is you. I cannot make somebody that have low self-esteem happy. They have to work on themselves. That's their job. My job is to make myself happy. You know, and when you have two people that love themselves and stuff like that at a proper rate, that energy exchange is so.
Ooh.
It's woo, you know.
It's delicious.
It's there. Because, you know what I'm saying, it's nobody's draining your energy.
Right.
They're giving you the energy back that you're giving them, without question. You know, and people wonder, you know, in the conscious mind, you know, when people out looking around, they're not looking. People in the distance, in the crowd and stuff, You're looking at people to see if they're awake or whatever. But actually what you're truly doing is looking for people that actually really truly love themselves. And you can attract to that. Because you be like, you know what? This person, he may have something, you know what I'm saying, or that person may have something to share or I can grow from, or I can be around somebody like that because they share the same self-love that they can offer something to somebody. If you don't have that, you cannot offer anything to nobody.
Man, dude, that's so true. Like, especially the dudes out there, right? Like, we always sometimes put women on a pedestal and like we want to take something from them. But once you have that love grounded within, it's like, nah, like whether you say yes or no, like I'm not phased by the outcome. That energy is so much more sexy, right? Like that's so much more masculine in a sense, or so much more secure in a sense.
That is true because, you know, as men, you know what I'm saying, women they can detect it, you know.
They smell it.
They can smell it, but they can also detect it. You know what I'm saying? They always can, you know, so they can sense a alpha or a confident person. You know what I'm saying? They can also, you know what I'm saying, can see a weak one too. One that's vulnerable, one can that be took advantage of, you know. So you have to be very careful. But when you're out of subconscious mode and into conscious mode, which is love mode, which is that love harmony, that frequency of love where everything is just on perfect, people will notice that, and everything around you harness that around you. You know, it's like everywhere. You know what I'm saying? People know that about you. They be like, man, that guy right there, you know, something about that person. You may not even know that person, but you can tell that person they love themselves properly because they have that energy around them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody needs to make them happy. They don't need to ask nobody's opinion about, you know what I'm saying, what you think about this, what you think. Once you truly love yourself, you already know the answers. The answers are within you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, later on in the second half of the podcast, we'll kind of jump into the like how to love yourself and kind of practical things and things that we both like to do and stuff like that. But one thing that came into mind when you were talking about is also remember these kind of like principles of loving yourself as well. And these, I had the first one, which is unconditional, like unconditional self-love. But on the previous episode, you know, Hans Wilhelm was talking about also it's very important to have these other, in addition to unconditional, you also want to make it unlimited, all-inclusive, and all-inclusive and selfless love. So like that, he who was talking about like loving other people with this kind of like principle of like a framework, but I feel like that could also apply to us. It's very important to have that unconditional self-love, and that unlimited self-love is not like I will only love myself if like I get that promotion or something like that. It's not based on circumstances, right? So I feel like that,
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about that aspect.
That is one of the key things that you observe around people. They're waiting for that. When I get that job, I can probably, you know what I'm saying, I can do this. When I get enough money, I can do this. When I get that girl, I can do this. When I get that car, I can do this. This is all false love. This is still back into the sense of I'm doing this for everybody else to see. I'm looking for reactions from the outside world to give me that one slight moment of happiness, of, you know, of people looking at me now and being proud of me in that moment. But, you know what I'm saying, that moment only lasts for a moment. You know what I'm saying? That moment doesn't last, so people automatically has to keep going and keep doing things, and it never stops. They get into a loop of pleasing, people pleasing. That you know what I'm saying? And that people pleasing will keep them distracted from doing the work inside to developing unlimited self-love constantly. Because once you have self-love, it is moments created every second, every minute. There is no, you know what I'm saying, I smile all day because, you know what I'm saying, my self-love is on a high. You know, people search for this kind of high. And, you know what I'm saying, people always ask me this the simplest questions, like, you know what I'm saying, why are you always like, you know what I'm saying, you always happy, you always positive, this is that. Because I can explain it to people that's not going to understand because they have not experienced it. It's basically like me being how I feel right now. I cannot explain it to somebody who does not love themselves. It's basically me trying to explain to somebody how does it feel to be drunk and they never had a beer before or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They will not. You cannot explain that to somebody. You cannot explain that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The same way with any kind of feeling.
Right.
So until you know what I'm saying, you put in the work and really want that self love, is the only time when it's gonna you can feel it and show it. But we get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So this is the first part of the episode. Stay tuned. Second part coming, and we'll talk about the practical action steps that you can take to start loving yourself, making sure that cup is 100% full, so that you can taste that delicious self-love.
Self-love, bro. Self-love.
All right, BRB. Hey, what is up, guys? Thank you so much for finishing the first half of the podcast. I hope you got some value out of it. You got some nice juice. More value coming in the second half of the podcast. Before we continue, I just want to share a little bit of a message, and that is if you would like to be more involved with the Divicati community, there is an option to join our free Mighty Network group, link in the description. Mighty Network is sort of like a Patreon mixed with a Facebook group. There we would post exclusive podcast content as well as host monthly events such as like meditation or meetups, networking, etc. once we hit 100 members or more. So if this resonates, go check it out. Sign up. It's free. You can start mingling with soul-aligned, purpose-aligned, divine beings and start creating those genuine collaboration and relationship, because we truly believe that only through collective ascension and collaboration we can create that beautiful 5D love-based world that we all want to live in. So yeah, check it out. And without being said, let's go back to the conversation. Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to the second half of the Conscious Conversation podcast with Maurice on self-love, episode 12, baby. Wow, crazy. In the second half, we are going to talk about some practical action steps that you can take to start loving yourself more. So, Maurice, man, what are some of your favorite ways to love yourself? You know, like just kind of what were some good tips, a little advice that you like to do, you can share, you know? Like what's your routine, you know?
That's a great question. That's a great question, you know. One of the things that I know was pretty hard, but I can tell that it's probably hard for a lot of others also, is getting rid of that emotional baggage. When you start loving yourself properly, you'll realize that you do not no longer allow pain, emotional stress, emotional anything. You start letting go of the past. You have to let go of the past. You have to live in the present and in the moment. This is key. This is number one. That, you know, that I cannot change the past and I cannot predict the future. All I can do is be me for right now. And right now is loving me, you know, and being accountable for everything that I do properly for me. And one of the things that I do, I maintain a healthy lifestyle. It's not a diet. I eat the same every day practically. I work out. I do the same regimens every day. I wake up in the morning. I do my daily mental, you know, check-ins. You know, a lot of times people don't realize that it is healthy to get that mental check first, and then I check off the physical. I do my gym workout. What's most important thing that the self-love gives you the energy and puts you in a conscious state of mind is actually what do you put in your food? What do you eat? What do you consume? You know what I'm saying? Because I learned, you know what I'm saying, throughout the years that a lot of my love for myself got more clear the more I started treating myself, you know, instead of harming myself. You know, and people just think it's okay to, you know, put anything inside of the body, but at the same time, you won't put any kind of fuel inside of your exotic car. You know, just because it runs with any kind of fuel, don't make it run efficient. You know, you may have black smoke coming out the back. You know, you need to put the proper fuel in it so it can work efficiently. The same way with the body, you have to put the proper fuel inside so it can work properly. And that is number one key that I learned in my process. That, you know, you don't, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people have their own ways, but for me, what worked for me is understanding that my emotions is connected to how I feel about myself. And when I eat properly, I feel good.
You feel better.
I feel great.
You said a couple of main points. I would have wanted to distill it down. One is like making the decision to love yourself. I feel like that's being conscious of that, right?
Yeah.
And then second of all, the practical way is eating better, because that ties into your emotions.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like one thing that also helps with people, at least when I reflect back to my personal growth journey, these are just my own personal experience, is the first step when I have to kind of think back, it's always to purge whatever you stored, because emotions get stored within your body.
Right.
If you don't express them.
Right.
So I feel like the first step is always kind of like cleansing, or like letting things go from the past, right?
Let's say, you know, a lot of people don't know how to do that. A lot of people can't cleanse nothing that they don't know how to.
Shed some light in that, man.
Well, you know, cleansing or purging or anything, it has to be let go. It has to let go, and a lot of times, you know, letting go is what people believe is letting go is forgetting about it. That's not letting go. Forgetting about it, you can never forget about it. Forgiving it and learning from that experience is letting it go. You know, that served a purpose. If it could be negative or positive, it served a purpose to your growth, to who you are now. So, you know, regardless of what happened, you have to look at it like, okay, that was meant into my journey. That's in my purpose.
Right.
For me to become who I
Right.
am eventually going to become, because it's never an ending journey.
Dude, like that's real legit, because that just echoes what Hans was saying on the previous episode. He was like, forgiving is one of the biggest things to forgiving and love.
Proper forgiveness.
You
have to know proper forgiveness. A lot of people can forgive, but at the same time, if you allow it to camp out inside of your emotions, that's not forgiving. You know, once you forgive, it will not be there no more. It is gone. Unless you want to bring it back up. You got to understand that, you know, everything that happens, you can put to bed, but it's always going to be there. You know, all emotions is never going to leave you completely.
What's your way of properly forgiving?
I don't allow myself to entertain my emotions, my anything that's below into that emotional feeling of pain. See, that goes with the love. You know what I'm saying? When you self-love yourself, you don't have time for pain. You can recognize it. And once you learn to recognize, okay, this causes me pain, you know, okay, I'm not going to spend more than 3 seconds thinking about it. You have to learn how to move on.
But wouldn't be avoiding the pain?
No, that's
rather
not,
than like understanding why does the pain happen in the first place and trying to eradicate it from the root?
You cannot, because when I say pain, I mean, okay, like just that emotional sadness or emptiness. That once you realize what it was there for, what it was based on, and you be like, okay, that was teaching me something. That was a learning lesson. Now I understand it. Now you understand it and you let it go. Once you put it to sleep, and the only way you can wake it up is by giving yourself self-doubt, not taking that lesson and believing that lesson is a lesson, and you still pointing the fingers at you start turning into self-pity. This is allowing yourself to be distracted from that love. You're going backwards.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to stay forward. You have to stay in the moment, in that present. Anytime you catch yourself going backwards into the past, into digging up emotions, it's because you're losing focus on yourself.
And I think it's also very important when people talk about forgiveness, they don't talk about self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, you have to forgive yourself for a lot of things, you know, and that is a big that's a big one there.
Yeah, and that ties into self-love,
That
right?
ties all in, yeah.
Because when you like, yeah,
That right there ties a lot because that's not that is a good one there.
that's your juice, right?
That's
What are
some
the juice?
Jews. That's some Jews right there. Yeah, you're right because you know forgiving self is one of probably the hardest things that a lot of people harness or keep captives because you know what they felt like why me. You know they get into this frame of mentality of why did I do this? Why, you know what I'm saying, why I allowed myself to respond this way or, you know, play victim or anything.
Right,
you
right.
know, you find yourself in different situations from the past that you have to say, you know what, that happened to me for a learning experience, you know. But, you know what I'm saying, letting it go is really understanding that I had to go through that.
Right, right,
And now I can move forward because I'm not going to do that again. You're aware of that.
right. And I feel like it's also understanding that does not define who you are. That's not you. You as a person is always evolving and changing.
That's right. That's right. A lot of people will view you from your past. Somebody can be one way a year ago and a different way the next day. Who you are in the present is how people should view people. You know, because their past is basically their past. You know, it's their learning blocks into getting them to where they are today.
Right, right.
You know, I know a lot of preachers that used to be pimps and drug dealers. You know, but nobody looks at them as their past. They look at them as who they are today. You know, you have people that used to be preachers are now pimps and drug dealers. You know, because that's who they decided to become. But you know, you have to understand that who you are when you really love yourself, you become that. You become that love. You become that harmony in life. You become that open book. When you're doing wrong, you don't want your book open. You want to keep it closed because you're ashamed. But you know what I'm saying? That ties into a lot of stuff, you know.
Right, right. And I feel like it's also very important to, in addition to self-forgiveness, it's also, what is it, like, not judge yourself so much, like self-judgment. For me, that's a big one.
That right there is people would judge themselves based on giving other people that power over them. You know, because you're judging yourself in order to prove something to someone.
Right.
Because if you're judging yourself for just you can get over it a lot quicker.
I feel like when people judge themselves, right? Like when you see a baby, someone that you love, you have the empathy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's okay. But I don't know why sometimes, at least for me, it's like you don't give the same amount of empathy towards yourself. Like you don't really recognize you for you. So one thing that I like to do, or like at least help me become more aware of like the way I treat myself and how poorly I treat myself, is having this like very conscious moment of looking myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And just like, if you haven't done this, like try this, like actually look deep into your own soul, like eyeball to eyeball for a good minute. And you're like, oh my God. And then it kind of gets creepy because like your internal voice, like looking at yourself and like it's like a big self-reflection moment, right? Talk about self-reflection.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I like my beard ain't shaved, like, you know, like my skin like kind of like dry. I was like, where has the attention been on myself, bro?
Right.
So like that has been a big moment, man.
This comes in with that, you know, but this is all inside of the work development. It's all part of the journey, the processes. When you have to look at yourself and you can tell yourself, you know, you give yourself empathy. You start like, okay, why am I not getting up early? Why am I procrastinating on say something that you got put off to the side? You know what I'm saying? This is the choices that you're making. You know, you don't need, once you start understanding that it's all based on you. There is nobody going to tell you, you know what I'm saying, do this, do that. We was all programmed into this reality that, you know what I'm saying, that we have to obey. and wait for somebody to tell us. We've been playing Simon Says since we was in grade school.
Right.
You know, it's like you got to raise your hands to go to the bathroom. You got to do this. You get told to when it's time to eat, when it's time to go to sleep. You get told. You've been told all this your whole life. So once you start to get out of that, be like, you know what? No, wait a second. I'm gonna take control over myself. There is nobody on the outside that's gonna, you know what I'm saying, make me do anything. You know, I'm not gonna get. You can get inspired by everybody, but the number one thing is to inspire yourself. You know what I'm saying? The greatest thing is to motivate yourself enough to say, you know what? I'm about to get up and do something about this. I'm not going to procrastinate no more. I'm going to start. And this goes with that self-love, because you be like, you know what? I want to become the best version I can be possibly, period. You know, and you know what? Every day is like, okay, look, what's going to make me better? Okay, I need to go to the gym. I need to eat better. I need to take care of this. I need to do some more research on this. I need to find out, you know what I'm saying, so sometimes the corniest stuff that people don't realize that you can look up yourself. You know what I'm saying? Why do people cough? Why do I sneeze? You know what I'm saying? All this stuff like that, you can find out on yourself. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to wait for the doctor to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Don't Google, you know what I'm saying, symptoms just to find out that nothing's wrong with you. You know, people have to take awareness, accountability on their own action, because you're self-governed. Your whole self, your inside, outside, your mind, body, and soul is controlled by you. You know, so you have to take that as you are the CEO of you. So you know what I'm saying. There is only you. You going to motivate yourself. You got to be yourself. You got to inspire yourself. You know, don't look for the outside. You become that light to yourself. You know, and it only takes that first step. And one thing about the self-love journey is going into that unknown. You know, it's that unknown, because the subconscious want to stay comfortable into that program of I already know how that feels. It's comfortable here.
Right. The ego want to protect itself, right?
Yeah, it's comfortable here. You know what? I need a hug from somebody. I need somebody to tell me I did a good job. I need this, that. Once you get out of that, you don't need nobody to tell you anything. You become that, man, I'm doing a great job. I'm amazed at myself. You know, you pat yourself on the back as many times as you can a day. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to wait to the end of the week. You set your goals. You know what I'm saying? This week, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to challenge myself to become better than I was last week. I'm going to try this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to take my body to the limit. I'm going to start fasting. I'm going to start, eating less processed foods or more greens. You know what I'm saying? You can do these things by yourself. You don't need that outside to govern your choices.
Right. So what I'm hearing a lot from what you're saying is coming from a mindset perspective. So once you change your perspective on why this is so important, then you start doing it.
You start doing it.
Right.
And you make conscious decisions of, we got to put in work.
Right.
You know? Then you start seeing the vision. Then you start seeing, forget the past. Then you start seeing, okay, I can see myself now, as who I am. Right. Now is I am, not who I was.
Right. Because Tony Robbins says one thing that's so powerful is like sometimes we're just been sitting around, like we already know what we got to do, but sometimes it's making that decision, making that commitment, and saying like, yo, from this day on, from this moment on, from this podcast on, I'll start loving myself more consciously every single fucking day, and making that commitment sometimes is very uncomfortable. Because you got to face some shit. It's not going to be like all sunshine and rainbow and roses. You got to work on yourself, and you're going to face the fears, you're going to face the emotions. But like that is the long-term longevity to liberation, in my opinion, right?
Right.
When you like dive deep internally and kind of like search for those things that you got to forgive, you got to love, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's almost like, you know what I'm saying, walking up to a stranger or going to a job interview. You know what I'm saying? All of that is uncomfortable. You do not know you're going to get that job until you go to that interview. Right. You know, but your mind will keep you at home saying, "Oh, I'm not going to get that job, so I might as well stay here." Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to become that because, you know what I'm saying, whatever. You know, you can talk yourself out of all kind of stuff because, you know, that unknown feeling is actually a great place to be. Right. Like because you don't know what's next. Yeah. You know, and there's always something better. It's always something gratifying that
The leap of faith.
that leap of faith, man. You have to take it.
Right.
You
and,
have to.
And so like what I'm alluding to is like, yo, gotta just make it this, like what you're saying is like how you kind of painted the perspective and the mindset. And now it's like, okay, guys, like it's up to you, whether it's also up to me to start even loving myself even more every single day.
You have
making
to.
a priority, right?
You have to. And one of the things is that, in this journey, I would love to see everybody find their true love and their true self. But at the same time, you have to put the work in for yourself. The people you surround yourself with, all of these people and even family members that, that takes away attention that you have on yourself. You cannot put full attention on yourself when you're people pleasing.
So those are the don'ts. Don't stop
Yeah,
people pleasing. Yeah.
Yeah, stop people pleasing. And people will be motivated and influenced by you just being you. You don't have to, hey, come here, let me tell you, love yourself, this, that. Start loving yourself. People will notice. I'm gonna tell like one thing, that when you truly love yourself, you don't have to prove anything to nobody. They will see it. When you don't love yourself, is when you feel the need to prove to people that you don't even know. You understand?
Right. That's what your mom told you, right? Like what she wants you to is to be you being proud of yourself, right?
Yeah.
From what I remember.
Yes, basically, in that sense, yes. But that's something I told, like my mom also. I sent a message when I told you that to, to family people, the people in your family already knows. They're proud of you already because they can see the love that you have for yourself. You don't have to prove to your family anything.
Man, yeah.
Because
that's different from like Asian families though. It's like it's all external. It's not like that, right?
It doesn't matter. Say from any kind of culture wise. Again, you have to please. Number one is you.
Right.
You have to love yourself. And if you can tell that, the true people that will follow their hearts and their passion and their love for themselves, you will see their parents will come around eventually. They'll be like, okay, now I see it, because parents want to see you successful, but they only know that subconscious of security. They want to see that security, and what they believe
that's true
is the only way that you can get it is by you have to do it this way. But they don't know that, your passion and your self-love will get you where you're supposed to be, and they will get it, eventually, but your job is to do you first.
Right.
Everybody else can wait.
Right. And that's so true, because like one like some actual things that I usually do on my good days, right? I don't say I do this every single day, but like you got to do you first. So when I wake up, I work on myself before I work on my like the podcast, like Divicati, and my investments and stuff like that. So how does that actually look like? I wake up, do a little meditation, a little journal, a little drumming sometimes, and a little reflection. And then once I am at a good state, then I transfer that energy into my work.
Right.
So like that's
it was showing your work. It transferred because your energy is on harmony. Is on a baseline now. You chose that baseline. Most people don't choose their baseline. What happens with most people is that their baseline get chosen for them.
Right. Based on external circumstances.
Because most people, they'll wake up, first thing they do, they'll go to their phone. They'll look at bad news. They'll look at the news on TV. They do. So their baseline is chosen for them.
Right.
Now they have to adapt their emotions to that baseline.
That's crazy.
Instead of creating their own.
Right.
So now they're exiting their home, not even themselves, because now their baseline is basically
designed through the media, right?
Is emotionally attached to what they just saw. Because you know what? If I picked up my phone, which I don't, first thing when I wake up, I do my work first. When they pick up their phone, the first thing that's on media, social media, mainstream media, is bad news. Somebody got killed, the corona, something bad, something bad, and these emotions affect you. You know, you be like, oh, I feel sad for this. I feel like this. I feel like that. So you cannot set your tone for the day.
Right.
You know,
I know.
and that's one of the greatest things to happen is once you set your tone, nobody can change it. You know, you chose your tone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like some people, and you can tell when people tones has been chosen for them. Those are the people that, you know, have road rage. Those are the people that, you know what I'm saying, that don't open the door for others. Do not say good morning. They already, you know what I'm saying, their tone is getting set.
Mm-hmm.
It's already set by something by the external world.
Right.
Because if there was love, they'll open the door for you. They say, hey, how you doing? Good morning. I speak to everybody because,
Right.
you know, that's just me because I'm sharing love.
Right.
Through, you know what I'm saying, regardless. And you can see it in people. When you speak to people, they don't know. They're like, man, he just made my day by just saying hello.
Right. Right.
You know, so you have to choose your baseline. Your tone is in your hands.
Mm.
You are the captain of the ship.
Right.
You know, and that's the greatest position you can have.
Right.
And you got to remember that there's nobody driving this but you.
Right. And that's start with like your morning routine, which is very important.
Very important.
Yeah. I want to kind of just, you know, end off with a couple more like practical things that I like to do. Like you kind of tell us a little bit about, hey, be aware of the food that you put in your body, right? But I also want to, and I talked about the mirror technique, looking at yourself.
Right.
So, but I want to end off with, you know, a couple more of these kind of things that people would feel like, oh, maybe I'll try this. You know, that just taking this one thing away, right? So I'll start, right? I got 3 things that I kind of wrote down. The first one, I feel like, you know, with love, in terms of the body, we gotta understand the heart chakra a little bit more, or the chakra systems.
Right.
Right.
And for
And
those who don't know what that means.
yeah, so for it, it's like energy, where energy is concentrated, from my perspective, and where you can actually feel. Like, so when you say when the heart chakra, feel into your heart chakra, what that mean is like feel into your heart. You can feel a little bit that warmth, that buzzy feeling, that heart expansion. And sometimes when people's heart are broken or they're closed off, they can't feel their own love because their heart chakra is blocked. So it's very important to, you know, do the little meditations or check out something called that's Reiki, right? Which is like energy work. And I remember when I was in Vancouver, I did one of these sessions, and the lady, when she put her hand over my heart, right? I actually, like, she didn't physically touch me. It was just like through her energy, right?
Right.
Like it was like 3 or 4 inch above my chest, and I heard a little pop, right? And I was like, whoa, what the hell was that? I never felt that, never heard that before, and I just felt a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what energy she took away from me.
Right.
From that, like I felt like my chest was a little bit more expansive, and then I can access the love within, right? Because sometimes our love can be closed off by certain, like a trauma or something that we early alluded to.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to recognize the blockage. You have you have to be aware of that. You know, and one of the things that keeps you aware of that is if something takes you to that place and you recognize it, and you can you once you recognize it, you can choose to do something about it.
Right.
It's like when you choose to, say for example, like people who listen to sad music, or I'll give you another example. Like you was in a breakup or something with someone, and y'all had like a special song.
Right.
Say this relationship was over 10 years ago.
Right.
And you got this special song.
Right.
And you want to listen to this song constantly. Even though it's the saddest day of your life or whatever, or you miss this person or whatever. Why would you want to put yourself into that kind of position?
Because you want to feel, right?
You want to feel, no.
Right?
You don't want to feel happy, because that's not love. That's putting you in a sad state of mind.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? These are stuff that you recognize. This is an example. You know, people need to find out what causes them to have these emotional detachments from love. And it's crazy because I see it all the time. People will go to the bar, you know what I'm saying? People will go to they'll play video games or something like that. Even eat, you know what I'm saying? Like I see people actually eat upset, you know? And you know what I'm saying? And you know, everything's attached to an emotion. So you have to be aware of where you put your attachments to. You know what I'm saying? What's holding you attached to this emotion? That's when you can put that work in.
Right.
You know, and then that's when you can move forward. You know?
Right. And I can really personally relate to the whole overeating thing, because like sometimes there's certain emotions within my body that I don't want to feel, so I eat so that
Yeah.
my stomach or whatever, my
Beautiful.
digestive system is concentrated into digesting that food, and takes away my internal awareness on maybe my stomach where I don't feel great, which is kind of like not ties into a physical
Right.
problem or situation, maybe an emotional
Emotional, yeah.
problem. So yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say, that what we're trying to say is like maybe meditate on the heart chakra, right?
Meditate is the greatest thing for anything, because that's when you can properly make a choice. You know what I'm saying? And listen. You know, and finally come up with your own answer. You know, and that's one of the greatest gifts that God gave you, is that you have the choice to create your own answer. You don't have to base it on other persons, you know, on their views or anything. We all have that in us. It's instilled in us. You know, we all been born with that harmonized frequency of love. You know, we just got to get back to that. We have to find that and stay on that track. That's number one. That's key.
100%. I will link a little video, or maybe you guys can search it up as well. Let's say do both. It's called Heart Math, and it talks about like how powerful the heart is and the intelligence that the heart has. What that also taught me is to always like split your awareness between your mind and your heart. Right. A lot of people put their attention in their mind, so they're always in their head. But right now, as I'm speaking to you, a little bit of my attention is always in my heart.
Right.
And so like I feel I can access my heart's intelligence, and I'm coming from that loving place as well.
Right.
And but see, that's practice. That takes the awareness,
right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Channeling the attention to the heart, right?
Exactly.
And then you'll feel it like eventually. So that's one thing I like to do, to love myself more.
One thing is that once you're aware of it and you feel it, that's when you can really hold on to it and want to get to that place. Anytime that you feel detached, you want to get back to that place. You want to be able to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes practice. Yes, it does. Because you want to get back to that place like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be like, I need to count to 10. I need to breathe. No, you want to practice so much that you become master at it, and you can just be like, oh, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Just like that, blink of an eye. You know, that's when you really, the journey is like, it gets closer and closer, because you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know what I'm saying? I can feel it, you know what I'm saying? Through my self experience. I mean, you know, and when I say experiment, it's like, I use this phrase all the time. I am the scientist of me. You know, I learn from myself. I'm learning every day what my emotions, what my physical, my mind, my body, and my soul is doing constantly.
Man, that's self-awareness right there.
So I'm my scientist. I'm the observer. I'm observing me. What I'm doing, how I'm feeling, what's my reaction time, what's all of this stuff. So I become the scientist of myself, of everything. And that is, you know what I'm saying, one of the greatest things, because that's what keeps you going. Because you know what, the next day, today, I don't know what today got in store, but I know love is going to be everywhere around me. You know, so
yeah,
you have to live like that.
Right. And I got two more for y'all in terms of things that you can do. One thing is actually a physical thing that you can buy. For me, it's like we were talking about crystals earlier, right?
Yeah, right.
Maybe get your hands on some rose quartz. You know, I feel like that might be sort of like a placebo like enhancement, but also you can't be like, oh, like let me hold on this and I love myself. But I feel like it helps a little bit.
Yeah, right.
It's like a tool.
Yeah, it is
right?
a tool, yeah.
But you gotta like have the same mindset, intention, right?
Whatever the intent, your intent sets the tone,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Regardless, you know what I'm saying. When you have that love intention, everything you want is good. It's harmonious. It's going to be the it's going to set the wave. It's going to keep the calm.
Right.
You know, that intention of no matter what you do, how you speak, how you feel, how you act.
Right.
That intention is what's going to be returned to you.
Right. Funny thing though, like I actually wear a little rose quartz. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you would see like, you know, I wear this. Before, I've been wearing this for like a couple years now. When I first started, I don't like when I put it on, I couldn't take it. It was too powerful. My chest started hurting. I was like, nah, like I can't, let me just put it down. But I realized it's because like it was kind of like sucking certain things out, right?
Yeah.
But right now I can wear it. I feel fine. I feel more expansive in my chest area.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like it has some. It can purge certain things out. Can like draw certain things out for sure, right? If you put it in your chest.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the power of the crystal there.
Yeah. It's actually, you know what I'm saying, that the energy's in there.
Mm.
And it's your energy actually.
Mm.
It's like your own galaxy of energy.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever you putting in there,
Yeah.
or it's taking out,
Yeah.
it could be strong.
Yeah.
It could be, but once it's into that love force,
Yeah.
it just connects everything. It connects the dots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything will be.
Mm. And my last one, and something that you said earlier, was to always be the observer, be the scientist of yourself, right?
Right.
And so one thing that, like I already said before, one big thing is like being limiting or shifting that self-judgment, or any voices, any co-pilots, right, that does not serve your highest good or does not serve the highest love. When I'm aware that I'm entertaining that voice or allowing that voice to talk, right, I quickly shift to a more encouraging, a higher version of myself.
Right.
So I feel like that's also a mental tool that I like to use when I'm walking down the street, or like, oh fuck, like I look so ugly today, or like I feel whatever stupid thing I'm saying in my head. I'm like, hold on, let me just like shift. Hey Marco, you're fine, or whatever. Like, hey, smile a little bit more. Like certain like corny things like that. Right.
Right. You have to be aware of the ego also.
Mm.
You have to be aware of anything, any thoughts and stuff, because you are the pilot, you know.
Mm.
And there are a lot of things and voices that can deter you.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That it's almost like, you know, you have somebody as your co-pilot that's trying to direct you, you know, but you know where you want to go. But they tell you, no, I know a shortcut.
Mm.
You're like, nah, I know where I'm going.
Mm.
I don't want to go. I don't know that street. I know this street is where I'm going.
Mm.
So I want to stay focused on this street.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, it's a lot of learning, observing of self that goes on. This is just an unlimited journey.
Mm.
But the closer, the more you are into the journey, the more aware you become, the more easier it becomes.
Mm.
The more it becomes natural.
Mm.
It becomes totally natural. You know, you become who you are,
Mm.
and people will see that. You know, you're original. You're authentic.
Mm.
You know what? People around you will notice. You know, because they be like, I don't know what it is, but it's something.
Mm.
And it's what it is self-love and knowing who you truly are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, it's as scary as it sounds for most people, because they are comfortable into that I want to be like everybody else sense of mind.
Mm-hmm.
They will always inside have, you know what I'm saying, that self-doubt, why not me feeling, because they never did the work. So, you know what I'm saying, it's very important to just start that journey.
Yeah.
Because, you know, without it, you're going to be walking in a loop,
Yeah.
emotional loop.
Yeah. I think it's also, even though I'm sure some people that are listening to this have also started on the journey, but for me sometimes it's always about like keep doing the things that got you here, right?
Right.
So it's like about that consistency as well.
Right.
Right. Do we have to cut the podcast soon?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we're in the barbershop right now and it's about to opening
Time.
in time. So Yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this episode with Maurice. Any last words you want to say to the audience?
Self-love is the golden key to becoming the best you can be. There is nothing more powerful than just loving yourself without any expectations from the world. When you feel that proper love, why wouldn't you want to feel happy? Why you don't want to give yourself that joy? Why would you want to be in misery? You know what I'm saying? That's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Who wouldn't want to feel like this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, there is no explanation I can give to feeling like this. So, you know what I'm saying? As you can see, you know what I'm saying? I'm full of happiness. I'm joy. You know what I'm saying? It's just feeling great, and I invite you to, challenge yourself into figuring out how to love yourself more and more daily. That is golden.
That's beautiful, man. Thanks for putting that up in the end. Wrap it up perfectly for us.
Yes, sir.
So that's it, man. Thank you so much. Love and peace as always.